can quickly run into a position where if anything happens to Terrapagos, your damage output is so limited. Fluttermane with no, like, it's not trained to be offensive, it's trained to be support. Tornado is trained to be support. Amoonguss is trained to be support. And a lead switch up from Rajan, switching to Whimsicott and Miraidon.
And this time Amoonguss has hit the field, so the Amoonguss here does two things, right? First of all, if you are able to go for the Terra Starstorm, or go for the Terra, get rid of the terrain, then you can Spore, for example, right now into the Miraidon slot, but Miraidon could just Volt Switch and go out into that Cornerstone Ogerpon that's in the back, and so, oh, here we go.
Walking in quickly. Andrew, this could be your tournament life on the line.
This is huge.
Take some time, think about your moves, like this could be it. Maybe you have the feeling, maybe you say, I know that this is going to work.
Okay,
and I
think he heard you. Okay, he's taking it a little bit slower now.
Okay, thinking about the move a little bit more, taking a second to lock in, that's important. These players, this is their dream. They came here and they said, I want to win this tournament. So many players came in hoping, wanting, praying to win the tournament, and this could be the moment. Andrew's still in this. He's down a game, yes, but it's not over. Interesting. Terrapagos terrestrializes first. No terrestrialization from Miraidon. A different tact from Rajan this game.
Okay, so this is going to get rid of the electric train for one turn, and of course Miraidon will be able to potentially Volt Switch and then bring it back in. But critically, there's no Spore coming out here anyway. I expect Volt Switch. Ooh, okay, Whimsicott protects. I was going to say Volt Switch here and then go out into Ogerpon seems relatively safe, which would cover for Spore. That's exactly what we're seeing here. And that's still so much damage, but this time there is that Pollen Puff coming out.
That's right, that's right. The crucial thing last game was that I'm totally blanking. Terrapagos took too much damage. Ogerpon switches in. Rajan does not know that Andrew went for the Spore, and he almost did go for the Spore. So he brings in the Ogerpon, saying, I can't let a Pokemon fall asleep here. Terra Starstorm is going to do a ton of damage and will break the Sturdy on the Ogerpon and Amoonguss. If it had gone for Spore, this game would be extremely bad. Just a lot of damage. But Pollen Puff keeps the Terrapagos' health high, and all of a sudden, Andrew is in the lead.
I love that self-Pollen Puff. I think it's, it feels so tempting to go for that Spore, but you saw Ogerpon in game one, so it's so likely that's going to be in the back. There's no way Rajan just lets you get that Spore off, and so really great decision making to end up going for that Pollen Puff. The problem for Andrew in that first game was that Terrapagos just ate up so much damage and then was just kind of one hit away from getting knocked out, essentially. Now you're applying a lot of pressure. That Starstorm will get the knockout onto Ogerpon. You could just Pollen Puff into Whimsicott here as well, and so what does Rajan do right now?
I think he Terra rocks Ivy Cudgel and Moonblast into the Terrapagos. It could be a mistake, but you're not going to Rage Powder in front of two Grass-type Pokemon, right? The thing is, that's the question for Rajan, right? We as casters, we have the very nice advantage of we're not under the same pressure as these players. Whimsicott goes for Tailwind. It looks like Rajan wants to go for an Ivy Cudgel into the, looks like the Amoonguss actually.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so a good bit of damage on the Amoonguss here. That might be Terra Electric Discharge range, and because Terrapagos is already terrestrialized, the advantage of that for Rajan is that there's no clear way to override Electric Train anymore. There's no Rillaboom on this team. Aaron, where did Whimsicott go? Where did Ogerpon go?
It's about to go back in its Pokeball, and we're going to see the final two Pokemon. We know Miraidon's one of them. So.
Oh, man, what a play.
This is so different from game one. I love it. What a finals we're watching right now.
And it all hinged on that turn one. If that had been Spore, this game, I legitimately think would be over.
Yeah.
I think if it had been Spore into the Ogerpon switch.
Because you double off onto the
Moonblast, Ivy Cudgel, there's no risk.
Exactly.
Like, you switch it, anything switched in would get KO'd because Amoonguss is the only Pokemon that can switch into that double up. I think Miraidon comes back out. We already knew this. Is it Blood Moon or Saluna, or is it Incineroar? What did Rajan switch to?
It's Incineroar, okay.
So that means that there is no ability to go for that discharge here unless, well, I shouldn't say no ability. It's just not an ability that I would...
It's a Solvents Incineroar.
Yeah,
how much do you think that takes a discharge?
I can take a discharge, but I probably can't take multiple. We have a full HP Terrapagos here. We have Amoonguss still very healthy. This game is not over. We have seen what Miraidon can do, but Rajan probably has to end this game before the Tailwind expires, or I think that there's going to be a lot of trouble in Miraidon land.
Yeah, I think this turn is really key to pay attention to. It's just like, what does Andrew do to respond, right? Because like Rajan has gotten the setup that he's wanted. You've gotten the Tailwind up, you've gotten Miraidon out. I think Miraidon in an endgame when you don't know exactly what's in the back can be a little bit spooky, but the upside for it is that just really strong electric type attacks are so consistent to go for. And so, yeah, I think right now for Andrew, you're looking to just make sure you don't lose too many resources too quickly. And so protecting is one way to start with this, but looks like he's considering going for a Pollen Puff as well. Protect makes sense.
Yeah, this is also a bait, because if Rajan decides to go for a Terra here, then Miraidon will no longer be able to survive the Terra Starstorm. So Rajan has Fake Out Pressure only available on this turn. Here's the booster energy. Did Miraidon Terra? This is the first trap. If Rajan fails it, he will most likely lose the game. Let's see what happened here. There's no Terra,
no
but
Terra,
who did he target? This is important. He probably needs to take a KO this turn. Fake out into the Amoonguss.
Okay.
I feel like it has to. Oh no, to the Flutter Mane. I'm sorry. Is it Electro Drift? It's Electro Drift.
Oh, but it goes into Amoonguss.
That might be a problem, Aaron.
I think so, because another turn of Tailwind now gets stalled out for nothing. You can protect Flutter Mane now, even sacrifice Amoonguss, then bring out Tornadus, for example, set up Tailwind, and so I mean, to your point, there was at least no Terra from Miraidon, so it's not like you get baited into it, but yeah, like you're really looking to just stall out the opposing speed control. There's 2 turns of Tailwind left right now, so the question is, can Rajan make enough out of these 2 turns? He's still applying a lot of offensive pressure right now. We're actually just seeing the Icy Wind hover here. Okay.
Yeah, interesting. I feel like
just
you
Rage
have
Powder.
such a big lead that you probably can turn this around. The question is, how do Miraidon and like, it's a little bit tricky because Miraidon here, if it takes an Icy Wind, then it's probably slower than the Flutter Mane, but it's still probably faster than Terrapagos. Rajan's got to make a lot to think about this turn. The other question is, how offensive is this Incineroar, and can it potentially pick up a KO? Rajan is deciding to lock in his Terra. He says, you know what, it's now or never. Turns off his weakness to Ice, turns off his weakness to Fairy, gets a damage boost, but I mean, unless Icy Wind misses, he's going to be very vulnerable in the next turn to this Terrapagos, especially with, we saw Tornadus being able to Tailwind is still available on the other side. Yeah,
Rage Powder is going to come out, and so Electro Drift should get the knockout onto that.
You think so?
Yeah,
maybe just barely.
Yeah.
It is a resisted hit.
There is no true resistance against Miraidon is what I've learned after this weekend, and it is going to demolish that Amoonguss. Amoonguss is going to fame, but I think it's done kind of what it was aiming for. Critical hit.
Maybe a little overkill.
Just insurance.
Amoonguss might need 2 trips to the Pokemon Center to recover from that one. Amoonguss going down here. The question is, will Icy Wind connect? It is 95% accurate. That is not a guaranteed Pokemon. It does connect on both. So the speed modifiers are getting a little bit wonky here, folks. Miraidon is at -1 speed, which is 2/3 of its original speed stat, but it's still
got 1 turn of Tailwind.
So
that's right.
4/3, I think, of its
Flare
original
Blitz
speed
comes
stat.
out, and it does not knock out Flutter Mane. Not super surprising, especially with these speed booster flutters, but this now gives you another turn. You can bring out that Tornadus. You can even protect the Flutter Mane, set up Tailwind, then get the Terrapagos out. And with Terrapagos still being relatively healthy, this is going to be really tough for Rajan, I think, because all you're looking to do is just get Terrapagos back in and then Terra Starstorm once again.
Yeah, the only question is, let's say that somehow Miraidon and Incineroar were able to take out Tornadus and Flutter Mane in the same turn, and the board state stayed relatively even. Could Incineroar possibly, with the Assault Vest, with knockoff, is it possible
that it beats the Terrapagos?
1v1 the Terrapagos? I don't think so, but you know what? I've learned not to doubt Incineroar. That's another Pokemon I've learned never to count out. So
I was going to say, like, in this position, you intentionally double up onto Flutter Mane, exactly, so you don't give the free switching, because if you give the free switch into Terrapagos, Tailwind is set up, Terra Starstorm comes out,
it's over.
That's over.
Yeah, so Rajan has the awareness for that. Here's the protection of the Flutter Mane. Let's see what Rajan went for. I do agree that I think that if Rajan goes for the Electro Drift into the Tornadus, this game is most
immediately
likely over.
I think so.
I think so as well. So actually, Rajan wants to not take a KO this turn.
Yeah.
Good job not taking the
Drift
KO.
into the Flutter Mane. There it is.
It's still going to be so difficult, but Rajan has kept himself in this game a little bit. Let's see here. Knockoff as well. That makes sense. Like, oh, a critical hit. It probably doesn't matter, folks. I'm almost wondering, I was like, oh, could he side knockoff? But it doesn't help with the speed issue, right? That's the end of the Tailwind from Andrew's side, and we see the value here in speed control. Just like you called out, Aaron, you said this battle will be determined by speed. This battle is being determined by which Pokemon moves first, and Andrew decided to put all his eggs in the Terrapagos basket, bringing basically 3 support Pokemon, and it's paying off in a major way.
So much damage.
And Aaron, I don't think that Incineroar is going to be able to do this one on its own.
Yeah, speed drop to add. It should be a double knockout this turn, but then Terrapagos comes out and just clicks that Terra Starstorm. I love the adjustment to Amoonguss. We were talking about using it mainly for that Spore, but actually just one single Pollen Puff on turn 1 alone was huge.
Yeah.
We're going to see the Flutter Mane finally faint here, but yeah, I think it's more than happy with what it's accomplished in this one.
Flutter Mane did his job. That Icy Wind was important. The stalling of the tail was important. Knockoff comes out. I actually don't think he's going to pick up KO.
Ooh, yeah,
just barely hangs in there. To be honest, even if it had KO'd,
Terrapagos just wins anyway,
like you have full HP Terrapagos, and the reason why that full HP is so important is because it means that Incineroar can never kind of 1v1 here, even if the circumstances have been a little different. Like that Pollen Puff turn 1, that was the play that I think ultimately decided it. And it feels like, Aaron, both these games have kind of been decided by how turn 1 went.
Yes, I feel like watching this Miraidon composition play out, it's like the decision making behind what you do with Miraidon on turn 1 is so key. If you get it right, you just blow up the game and get such a big lead. But if you get it incorrectly, you can lose a lot of momentum because Pokemon like Incineroar and Whimsicott can deal a lot of damage in certain scenarios, but it's not like they can just threaten everything on the field, right?
That's exactly right.
Miraidon is volt switching out in order to go to something else. I also wonder how differently this game would have looked if there was a Blood Moon or Moon in the back.
Incineroar. It feels a little bit surprising to leave it behind, but it was an option if Rajan knew that he was going to kind of be forced to play in the Tailwind or Bust kind of mode. But Aaron, we are going to game 3. After that game 1, it was so dominant. I thought, well, you know, maybe Miraidon just beats Terapagos. And now after game 2, I'm thinking, well, you know, I feel like Terapagos might actually be pretty good against Miraidon. These players have got to feel so incredibly nervous. They are under so much pressure. It's one thing to start the set and say, hey, you know, I can afford to lose one game. Neither player can afford to lose a game anymore. Both players have their dreams on the line. They have their hopes, everything that they've worked towards, the thing that they have been chasing this whole weekend. And it all comes down to this moment. 20 minutes or less will decide the winner of the Indianapolis Regional Championships. Each of these players' first regional victory and the first tournament of Regulation G.
And there are so many mind games. What are the lead adjustments do you consider if you're on Rajan's end, bringing that Blood Moon Ursaluna instead? What's also been interesting is kind of the lack of the early speed control, right?
That's right.
For example, in game 1, like no Tornadus, no Whimsicott being led, and there's some adjustments here. For example, like you could just go with Whimsicott plus your Miraidon. You could go with Tornadus plus the Terapagos and just exert a lot of pressure immediately. And so there's a lot of different things to consider here. Amoonguss felt like a really key adjustment in that last game, and so I wouldn't be surprised to see it come back because that single Pollen Puff actually changed
the game
everything.
Completely. I could not agree more. As you said, Rajan needs to get the positioning right with his Volt Switch Miraidon. He needs to take the KOs he needs. He needs to do the damage. He needs to switch into the right Pokemon at the right times. And that Amoonguss offsetting that first initial Volt Switch changed everything. So we are getting ready to jump into game 3 here. This is it, folks. This is the game that will determine who wins the tournament. Rajan going back to what he used game 1, Instant Miraidon, and a new lead out of Andrew, Tornadus, and Terapagos.
Oh, the Terapagos slot right now was once again exposed to the combination of Fake Out plus Electric Terra and Volt Switch, for example. So I wonder, I mean, like, do you just eat up that damage again? Because that feels so bad.
It's so scary, Aaron, because let's say you are like, oh, Terapagos, I can't risk it. Switch out into Amoonguss, Tornadus takes a Volt Switch. That's your speed control.
That's it.
And that was how Andrew won the last game. So Andrew locking in so quickly. He knows what he wants to do. He feels it in his heart. He feels that he knows what is best. But Rajan taking his time. Will Rajan get this call correct? This turn could determine who has such an like a huge advantage going on to the rest of this game.
Yeah, I think I give Rajan the advantage right now, honestly, because the Terapagos is so exposed, right? And so, yeah, the question is whether or not, like, you know, Rajan doesn't really have a reason to click Fake Out onto the Tornadus. There's that Cobra Cloak, so Terapagos is going to switch out. We know it's Amoonguss coming out, but this means no offensive pressure from Andrew's end this turn.
No Terra, Fake Out into Amoonguss. Gonna take a little Rocky Helmet chip here. What is Tornadus going for? It's most likely the Tailwind. It is the Tailwind, so that's 4 turns of Tailwind on Andrew's side, but what will he give up in exchange?
There it is, the Volt Switch into
Tornadus!
Tornadus, and so that's an immediate knockout, and of course that first turn of Tailwind, you don't really get anything out of it, and so a quick knockout here. This also means that you can pivot back out into that Whimsicott and now protect 1 turn, stagger Tailwind by 2 turns, and then suddenly you have so many extra turns of Tailwind to work with, and so I personally expect a Whimsicott to switch in here, and there it is.
Good call, Aaron, and we haven't even talked about how this Incineroar is still a massive threat.
Yeah.
It's already done a good job of pressuring the Terapagos, and something we haven't seen just yet is using Knockoff to remove the Choice Specs to remove the real damage from the Terapagos. Terapagos is strong, but it really wants some kind of a boost before it starts doing massive damage, and so here it's pretty risky. The other thing, though, that we have to consider is that this could be Terrastalize, Terapagos, and Spore the Incineroar.
Yes. That would be, I don't know, I'm like thinking about it and I feel like Andrew's honestly pretty far behind in this game right now, so I feel like maybe you need to make a big play, especially because this is the Assault Vest on the Incineroar, so I would not expect Terra Starstorm to get the knockout right now. And so, I don't know, I do feel like Andrew is pretty far behind after that turn 1. It's so important to pay attention to when the Terra comes out here, because removing that terrain just for 1 turn can have a huge, huge payoff. We're seeing Andrew considering a bunch of different options. He's going to offer Rage Powder and Terra Starstorm. So we'll see. I mean, like, here I would expect maybe Protect and Knockoff, maybe Protect Flare Blitz, but I think Protect is really safe. You don't want to feint to Terra Starstorm plus potential Pollen Puff, and what this allows you to do is now have multiple extra turns of Tailwind in this end game.
Absolutely. It was a little bit risky from Rajan, but saying, hey, you know, even if you do Terrastalize, like, that at least makes it so Miraidon can be a bit stronger later. I don't have to worry about my Retrain being removed. The Knockoff redirecting the attack there, that actually could end up playing a role, because Electric Drift, despite being a special move, actually makes contact, therefore activating the Rocky Helmet. But the thing here, Aaron, is that you've burned another turn of Tailwind, and if you want, you can actually Encore the Whimsicott and say, hey, I'm going to make it so you can't Protect next turn, and I'm going to make it so that you can't KO my Whimsicott this turn. I think it's an Encore the Whimsicott. Encore the Amoonguss, excuse me, to ensure that your Whimsicott's Focus Sash remains intact.
Yes.
So you actually have a couple of options here, and I think that yeah, which one Rajan decides to go for could really, really be important. His Incineroar has taken a ton of damage, but Andrew this time actually saving the Terra, not wanting to use it preemptively, not wanting to give up that Terra shell or the ability to overwrite the terrain.
Yeah, that's really important because that's your one big chance in this game, right? And so I think if you commit to it too early and then the Miraidon just comes back in, that's it. No more potential for Spore for you. So makes a lot of sense. Also, of course, you get that single target damage. Incineroar is actually going to
got to be Ogerpon,
pivot out.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is Ogerpon. Interesting. Okay, Ogerpon switching in, and actually we didn't see Andrew Terra, an amazing play, and the Encore from the Whimsicott. That's amazing, Aaron. Not only does he switch Ogerpon into a resisted hit because this is a normal move until Terrathagos terastallizes, he's Encored Amoonguss into a move that can't work against his two Grass-type Pokemon.
That's right, and so Amoonguss now is completely useless. You call the Encore potential earlier, now Amoonguss is in such a bad spot, but what do? Are you really going to switch it out into your final Pokemon?
It's so risky. I'm not sure you can. And do you use your Terra now? Looks like the answer might be yes, you do. But also, Aaron, this is the final turn of Tailwind, and Whimsicott has zero ways to go down, except if Rajan side targets. But probably won't be doing that. That means that Rajan will not only be able to match the Tailwind, he'll be able to overwrite it basically with his own. He's got such a huge advantage in the speed of the battle, but he needs to find a way through this Amoonguss so that Miraidon can do the damage that it needs.
Yeah, I'm wondering in this position, like, you're not at risk of getting knocked out, so no need to set up Tailwind with Whimsicott yet. You could theoretically, like, Moonblast and plus ID Cudgel into the Amoonguss slot. And I think that probably just knocks out Fluttermane, right?
Yeah, probably. So Amoonguss is going to switch out here. It's going to activate that Regenerator ability. It's possible it can take a powerful electric move later. Fluttermane switching in. This is another option for speed control, but it won't outspeed Miraidon in Tailwind, so it's only, somewhat there. Let's see what happens this turn. We are probably, I think we saw, seeing the terastallization from the Terrapagos. Andrew waited so long, he conserved it so well, but now he feels like he needs it. He needs the spread damage. He can no longer wait to overwrite the electric terrain. He needs to go for this now, and frankly, I agree. I think this is his only way back into the battle. And for me, the question is, will Ogerpon go down to this Terra Star Storm?
Yeah, let's see. I mean, it did so much damage that first time around.
There's also the option for a Moonblast drop, I realize.
Yep. Okay, here we go. Oh, Terra Star Storm is just going to come out immediately. Does it knock out the Ogerpon? We didn't see Tailwind come out here. Could have been Tailwind Ivy Cudgel. Ogerpon will faint.
Oh, man. That's a huge knockout. The Ogerpon goes down. What does Whimsicott go for? It's Moonblast. We know for sure. It's Moonblast into the Terrapagos. How much is it going to do?
Not a lot.
Not a lot, but that definitely puts it in range of a Miraidon move as the Tailwind ends. So, oh, Aaron, we're so close to the end of this battle. The question is just how much damage is Miraidon able to do? Rajan is betting it all on Miraidon. He can go for Tailwind and Electro Drift into either Pokemon, picking up a KO. If he commits Terastallization, he'll most likely get the Amoonguss that switched in as well. But if he goes after the Terrapagos and Amoonguss switches in,
and then Icy Wind from
then he might lose the speed advantage. Yes. And so that's something he has to consider. He can also go for Discharge, but the question is, even with Terra Electric, will it KO the Terrapagos? It's unclear. I don't know the calcs there. There's so much going on here. Does he want to commit Terra? Does he not want to commit Terra? He knows he takes one Moonblast. Aaron, there's so much going on here.
There's so much, and I think this turn alone feels so critical right now, right? So you can see the option, considering pivoting out into Amoonguss and then targeting the Fluttermane. There is the option right now to just straight up go for Tailwind. I was wondering, like, is Discharge ever a possibility
I think maybe.
here?
Terrapago switches out. If Rajan locks in Terra Electric Discharge and Tailwind, he will win this game. Because he'll be able to go into Incineroar, fake out before his own Discharge, and clean up the game with it. Here's the Terastallization from Rajan. This is the last player to use it. He saved it to the end of the game. The only question is, what move did he go for?
Did it target the Amoonguss? Because if it did, and an Icy Wind comes out.
This could get really scary, really fast. Is it Electro Drift? Is it Discharge? Is it Volt Switch? Is it Tailwind? First, we do see the Tailwind from Whimsicott. Rajan now has 4 turns with this speed advantage. But what move does he go for?
Oh, it's going to be Volt Switch. Okay, but into who? Is it into Fluttermane?
Amoonguss.
Oh, it's into Amoonguss. Okay. That's a lot of damage.
Not enough damage, though. Miraidon going back here. What did Fluttermane go for? It'll be able to pick up a KO on the Whimsicott for sure. The Incineroar's low HP, so a Moonblast will get that too. Incineroar comes out.
This is so close. I believe we saw the Icy Wind lock in from the Fluttermane. Let's just double check and make sure. Intimidate, not relevant right now. Oh, it was the Moonblast,
I also thought it was Icy Wind. Incineroar goes down here. That's the end of Incineroar. But the question is Miraidon going to be enough to close out this game? Now that it's terastallized, it's weak to Terra Star Storm.
I think you might have to Discharge, right?
I think you might have to. Otherwise, Fluttermane goes down, and then, yeah, it's actually Rajan's only option, I think.
You could protect Whimsicott, because, like, you're going to survive a Moonblast. You eat up an Icy Wind.
Yeah. You Electro, but the thing is, if he protects Amoonguss and you Electro Drift, then you have to take a second Icy Wind the next turn. I think you need to discharge this turn. I don't see another way forward. And discharge, it just depends on how strong it is. I have no idea. It's the weakest of Miraidon's moves, like just by virtue of the base power and the spread damage. But that doesn't mean that it's weak by any means.
Oh, this is so close. Both players fighting for their tournament life right now. Miraidon has to lock into its final move here. Once you commit that move, you cannot switch. So you can see the Rage Powder here. That does not cover for the discharge option.
If he doesn't protect Whimsicott, no!
Whoa, Whimsicott protects!
He protected!
Oh my goodness.
If he discharged, he could have won the game without it, but Rage Powder comes out, redirecting any moves that that Miraidon might want to go for.
Is it discharge? Is it discharge?
It's discharge! Oh my goodness, Rajan's Whimsicott might be the key that keeps him from winning this battle. The thing is that when discharge hits multiple targets, it is weaker. It should KO both Pokemon this turn, but the problem is that Rajan's own Whimsicott is reducing the damage of his discharge.
Yes, will the Terrapagos be able to survive? I think so.
It could be the difference maker. We saw how much Volt Switch did with no terrain.
Oh, this is unbelievable.
Oh man, Rajan could still win with a double protect, but if he just let Whimsicott go down there, he would have been in an amazing position. Andrew, it all comes down to if he can KO both Pokemon this turn. Rajan's thinking about it. He gets it! Oh my god, Miraidon has the speed advantage. How much is Discharge gonna do? Electric Terrain boosted, Hadron Engine boosted, Terra Electric boosted, Choice Specs boosted, Discharge. Is it enough damage? It is!
I didn't even need the double protect, but Raidon claims its first championship in Regulation G. Rajan Bal, he's made it to top 8, he's made it to top 4, he's made it to the finals, and now he has claimed his first regional championship victory here in Indianapolis.
There were so many restricted Pokemon on the players' radars going into this. Calyrex, Terrapagos, Kyogre, Groudon, Coralline, Zamazenta, Zacian, none of them matter